Welcome to the Madroit Podcast. We bring you bite-sized marketing and sales insights to help you level up, no matter the size of your business. Tune in and answer the big question, what does marketing actually do?
Welcome back, everyone. Jordan and Winston here, and on today's episode, we are going to cover some simple things to make marketing and sales feel authentic. So this is a big one. Authenticity isn't just a buzzword, it's the foundation of strong branding, customer relationships, and ultimately sustainable business growth. So let's go ahead and just jump in and let's start talking about what exactly is authentic marketing and sales.
To me, it's having a one-to-one conversation with someone and doing it with 10, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people at the same time.
I would agree. I think it's about being genuine, being transparent, and customer focused. It means showing up as you truly are, your brand, your values, your story, without trying to manipulate, deceive, or just pull the wool over anybody's eyes. I'd say it's about building trust. I feel like this day and age, when people are more skeptical than ever before, like they can sniff out inauthenticity a mile away. So when marketing and sales are done authentically, customers don't feel like they're being sold to. It's more like they feel like they're being served, right? And that's the goal, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really well said. To me, you can really feel when someone's not being authentic because it doesn't line up with what they've presented in the past or their company has presented in the past as their brand, their story, their why. And talking with someone and they know what you want, so they're trying as hard as they can to be able to sell to you what you want, even though nothing lines up with what they've said in the past. It'd be a huge stretch. It wouldn't actually be in the client's best interest or the customer's best interest. So that feels really unauthentic, and you definitely run into it a good amount of time.
Oh, definitely. I think there's ways that you can work around it, but we've walked through here and talked about what it means to be authentic. But let me ask you the opposite side. What isn't authentic marketing and sales?
Yeah, it's just not being real. It's just forced communications, forced style, forcing themselves into a persona or brand that they're really not, or personality that they really aren't. Just, I don't know, you get that feeling. It just doesn't feel authentic, doesn't feel genuine, that conversation. And we've all had conversations like that. Think of that type of conversation and apply that to a brand. That is what it feels like. Would you add anything though?
Yeah, first off, I think that's exactly it. You don't need to compromise who you are in order to keep up with the latest trends. Like, it's about doing the right things. And I think not necessarily changing yourself for the customer or for the client, but it's also not about oversharing. Some businesses, I think, mistake authenticity for spilling every single detail about their struggles or their personal lives. And I think while storytelling can be very powerful, a really powerful tool, there's a fine line, man. There's a fine line between being relatable and being unprofessional. And it's definitely never, ever about manipulation, because I think if your marketing and sales tactics rely on a guilt trip or fake urgency or exaggerated claims, that's not authenticity. That's, quite frankly, just bad business.
Yeah, it may work out in the short term, but as a long-term business strategy, I don't think I've seen it work well.
Agreed. And I would say even just from moral ethical standpoint, like I can't imagine somebody wanting to keep up or maintain something like that going. So from what is not authentic, why do you feel like authenticity touches every business? Maybe we can jump into a little bit of how.
Yeah, it's everything. It's how you communicate. That one-to-one conversation happens in so many areas, right? Basically all of your marketing, from email and social media marketing, text message marketing, how your digital advertising is put out there and put into market, and then your landing pages, how they speak to someone. It touches every point. And then in the sales process, like how is your sales team or customer service follows up with people and how they communicate with them. That's marketing, right? That's sales and marketing. It touches every single spot. And then how you communicate with your own team, because that's how they will communicate with others outside of your business, right?
Yes.
So it just touches every area. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered a lot, but I think it's so true and so important. We talk about brand reputation, customer loyalty, and things like that, but your employee culture, your team, like even your partnerships, it all ties back to how authentic you are in your approach. So if we think about it, a company promises excellent customer service, but treats people like they're just a transaction, essentially. Inevitably, they're going to lose trust.
Yeah.
So just if a brand claims to be eco-friendly, for example, but cuts corners, they're inevitably going to be exposed somewhere down the road. So people expect, I think, businesses just to, quite frankly, live up to their words. Like we've talked about it a number of times on different episodes, but just do what you say you're going to do, be who you say you're going to be. I think is so valuable. I think too, just being real, like authentic businesses are going to attract better customers. Do you have anything to go off on that?
Yeah, the business that unauthentic in the marketing, for one of the examples he used was just a false sense of urgency. If you're attracting someone like that and that's all stemmed from that, I think you're attracting people who they're probably just going to be upset or working with you after you can't meet all their expectations.
Yep.
If you promise something so big and then can't deliver, but then you're also attracting the people that kind of fall for that type of thing in the first place.
Yep.
I just think long term, it's a really painful way to run a business.
I would agree. And I think if you look at some examples of what it means to be inauthentic in your marketing and sales, I think one is where we talked a little bit about it, but like a company may show themselves in a certain way, but their business practices ultimately don't reflect those values. Oh, only 2 left in stock. Hurry, hurry, hurry. And in reality, they have like thousands sitting in a warehouse somewhere. These are trust breakers. And I think a lot of people will think, okay, generating like some of that urgency, okay, that's going to increase sales. Yes, in the short term, it could do that. But what does that mean for long term when that person that hurried up and made that purchase sees 2 days later, oh, well, everything's in stock. What's going on? So again, talked on some of those and gave some examples, but what are some ways that you can to flip the switch a little bit? How can we be more authentic in our marketing and sales?
Everyone has values, right? Whether you take time to define them and know them, but you have values, I'd say communicating those and sticking with them. If you stand for quality and customer service, sustainability, whatever it is, make sure it's reflected in everything you do and communicate, because it isn't an easy thing to be authentic all the time, right? Like a miss in communication can seem unauthentic, and we know that people are authentic, but that's a miss, right? And that's really easy. But if you can do that more often than not, showing up as authentic, you put yourself in a way better situation to work with customers, clients, and your team for that matter. So knowing your values and sticking to them best you can, being honest, right? Like just transparent, not oversharing like you mentioned earlier, right? Because there's too much information sometimes, but just being honest, shooting someone straight, I think is really important. People appreciate that and respect you more for it and build more trust because of that, right? What would you add?
I think we talked a little bit on it, but if we focus on the relationship more so than any type of transaction that may come from it, I think that's a huge point. Don't think of, okay, how can I sell more? Think more so on how can I serve better? How can I deliver more value? How can I come with solutions to the problems that customer, client, patient has? So I think that is a very valuable point. Relationship first, people first, and then staying consistent. It's not just a one-time strategy being authentic. It's a long-term commitment, I think, to being real in every interaction. Yeah, I think those are some of the key ways to go about it. Any more?
No, I think you nailed it. I think we covered the big ones.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, authenticity isn't just good marketing. It's really good business overall. It's going to build trust. It's going to strengthen your relationships. And ultimately, it's going to lead to greater marketing, sales, and success for your business overall.
That's all for this episode of the Madroit Podcast. Please make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions that you want us to talk about on the pod or want to get in touch with us, please visit madroitmarketing.com/podcast. Thanks for listening.